everyone, this is Tamara from shelfaddiction.com and welcome to episode 12, Top 6 Audiobook Listens of 2016, Part 1. Essentially, these are my top 6 audiobook listens for the year so far. This is the midway point of the year, and it's also the end of National Audiobook Month, so I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to share with you my recommendations for audiobooks. Again, these are my top audiobook listens of the year. Not all of them were published this year. Some of them were published in previous years, maybe last year. I don't have anything really old on my list, but they were all listened to in 2016. Be sure to subscribe, stick around, because at the end of the year, you'll get part 2 of the list. So you'll see what I listened to the last 6 months of the year and what I thought about them as well. So before we jump into my audiobook listens, I think I should tell you a little bit about where I get my audiobooks from. I know that a lot of you are curious about audiobooks if you haven't kind of dabbled in the past, and I have some really great ideas, whether you're a novice or you like to just listen to audiobooks, from the library or whatever. But I have a couple of tips where you can find some audiobooks for free and some good sources that you can pay to listen to audiobooks. Now, when it comes to audiobooks, I might use a few really commonly known places, and I might use a few off the beaten path places. So hopefully you'll find at least one source that you can get an audiobook for that's new to you today. So first up, I want to share about audiobooksync.com. I post about this program every summer on my blog, and this is a summer program in which audiobooksync.com collaborates with various publishers, and for the entire summer they offer 2 free audiobooks per week, a total of 15 weeks, I believe. The only thing about this program is that you can pull the 2 books per week from their site only during that week. So if you miss a week, you're kind of just SOL. You can't go back to the previous week and download previous audiobooks, and you can't go ahead. So you can sign up for their emails and you get notified, and I believe the new audiobooks go in every Thursday morning, like at 7 or 8 a.m. And so every Thursday, you have 2 free new audiobooks for you to download. You can download one or both or neither or whatever, but definitely check it out. I believe we're in week 8 this week, so there's a total of 15, I believe. So you still have plenty of time to check this out. My next suggestion is kind of really obvious, but a lot of people don't know that you can get audiobooks on MP3 from your library. Like, yes, you can go get the CDs from your library. Most libraries still carry them. But if you're not into that, like personally, I don't think barely anyone has a CD player anymore. I have one in my car, but it's like dusty, it's barely used. Most of us use our smartphones or our iPods or whatever to listen to MP3 files. Well, the good thing is most libraries will work with either Overdrive and or One-Click Digital. And both of these have Android apps and Apple apps, for the iTunes store. And I use them both. My library uses both of them, so if I can't find an audiobook in one, it may be in the other. And this is a great way to listen to audiobooks for 14 or 15 days, maybe longer, depending on what the audiobook is, and renew it and just get in line for holds and all that good stuff, but it's all digital. So that is a good thing. So I definitely encourage you to check out Overdrive, check out One-Click Digital, and go to your library's website, and they usually have full instructions on how to get digital content from your particular library. Another free site is audiobooks.com. That is PODIO books.com. And this is a free site, but they would like you to make donations or have a subscription to the website, although it's essentially free. Basically, this is a site where authors post their stories there that they are usually narrating to get exposure for their work. So this is kind of an off the beaten path type situation. You're not going to find any New York Times bestsellers, but some do it in hopes that you'll buy a physical copy later, or maybe they have something in development, or some people just do it because they love to write and they like audiobooks. Regardless, they don't have to do that, but they do. I don't usually get too many things from here, but it's definitely an option if you're interested and you want to check out something new without paying any money. It's there for you. Now on to some pay options. There are a lot of subscription services for audiobooks out there. But yes, I do subscribe to Audible. It's the monster, it's the big guy out there. They're owned by Amazon. It's $14.95 a month for one audiobook credit. That does seem like a lot for an audiobook, but not when you are looking at audiobooks that are longer in length, and they can be upwards of $28.95 or more per audiobook. So when you get a $14.95 credit and you're getting a $30 audiobook, it seems it's definitely a deal. Also, they also have like these little sales sometimes where you can buy extra credits for less than $14.95. So that's, when those happen, you should buy a few. And they also have, sometimes where they have just specials, buy one, get one half off and all these different things, or buy two, get one free. They have a lot of different advertising and marketing things going on for their subscribers. I definitely enjoy it. Again, it has an iTunes app, and it has a Google Play Store app, and you can listen to Audible anywhere and it syncs. One of my favorite things about Audible is that the fact that if you get like on Amazon and you get a ebook for your Kindle, and you also can get a Audible add-on for a lesser price. Like, for example, let's say you get a book that's $7.99 or whatever, and then the publisher offers an add-on for narration with the audiobook for $1.99 or $2.99, $4.99, whatever it is. So it's been times where I did not use my credit, and I opted to pay $2.99, for an add-on. So I will have the ebook for $4 or $5 and the add-on for $2 or $3. And that's half the price of $14.95. So I save my credit for later. And how the two apps work, in sync with each other is amazing. That's how I end up reading and listening at the same time. You could be reading on your Kindle or in your Kindle app, and then, so you're at home and now you're not. You got to drive to the store. You can jump into your vehicle, turn on the Audible app, and it will pick up exactly where you left off in your Kindle. Let's say you get back home, you want to pick up the book again. You pick up the book, open your Kindle, and it jumps to the last point that you were in the audiobook. It's awesome. It's a really great feature. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. And it should be noted that no, this is not a sponsored podcast. Audible has not sponsored me. I'm just sharing this with you because I like it. And these are features that I enjoy about the service. Sometimes they have a try your first book free or 30 days free or something like that. If I'm able to find a link like that, I will definitely list it in the show notes for you. My second subscription option is Scribd.com. And this is another situation where I'm just sharing because I like it. I use it myself. This is not sponsored. They are not paying me. We have no affiliation. I always want to get that out of the way so there's no misconception. This is a service that costs $8.99 a month. And I think that while overall this is a really good service, it does have its weaknesses. So on the plus side, again, they have a iTunes app and they have a Google Play Store app. So you can have this on whether you're in the Apple team or the Google Play, the Android camp, both of you can download the Scribd app. Now, one thing, like I said, it's not perfect. This used to be an unlimited service where you can get unlimited ebooks, unlimited audiobooks for $8.99. And that was just spectacular. But recently, in the last, 3 months or so, give or take a month, they changed their program. So now you only get 3 ebooks a month and 1 audiobook a month. Now, I think there are some exceptions to the rule, maybe the classics and other things that are older you might be able to listen to in addition to your 1 credit. But all the audiobooks I listen to are newer, and so I only get 1 a month. And I think you can stack up to 3. So if you go 3 months without listening, you'll have 3 credits, but I don't think they allow you to accumulate any more beyond the 3. So, this is it's a program that's really good. It's a lot cheaper than Audible. It's another option, but they don't have the selection that Audible has either. If you search something on there, they may say it's not available, or they're working with the publisher to get it. So while I enjoy it, it's a great source for some older ebooks and audiobooks. It's not my favorite, but the option is there, and it's definitely cheaper than Audible. So that is it. Those are the 5 sources that I get audiobooks from. Those are the ones that I recommend out of all the plethora of audiobook services and websites. I think these are my favorites, and I hope that you find one that you enjoy as well. Now let's jump into my top 6 audiobooks of 2016 so far. Yes, let's do it. So these audiobooks are in no particular order. They are not necessarily published in 2016, but I listened to them in 2016. So I don't think I have anything on here that's old per se, but I do have some that came out before this year. Again, no particular order. I enjoyed them all equally and for different reasons. So let's start with The City of Mirrors by Justin Cronin. This is the 3rd book in the Passage trilogy. This book actually just came out this summer, within the last month, I believe, or maybe 6 weeks, something like that. But it's new, and this is a adult fantasy story that is all about vampires. It takes place in a dystopian environment, and it's just awesome. It's an amazing read and an amazing listen. This takes place over many, many years, and the story going beyond The City of Mirrors, this is the 3rd in the trilogy and the finale. This story, it just spans a huge amount of time with lots of characters. This is narrated by Scott Brick, and he does an amazing job. These are serious audiobooks, you guys. The City of Mirrors is 29 hours and 29 minutes. So it is definitely not something for the faint at heart. It has an average of 4.6 stars on audible.com, and that is with over 1,500 ratings. That is awesome. 4.6 out of 5. I agree with that. I really enjoyed this trilogy, and the finale was stellar. Scott Brick does an amazing job, and he really adds a lot of value to the story. So if you're looking for something that is about vampires, and don't get me wrong, this is not a romance. There are no romantic elements. Well, there might be a few, but it's a minimal. This is not a relationship story. No one is sparkling in the sun. This is, oh my God, hide in the basement, hide your kids, hide everyone, because these vampires are going to rip your head off. So, this is adult fantasy. This is not a young adult romance. Don't get it twisted. So if you are interested, if you like vampires and you like stories that are very in-depth with a lot of characters, a lot of rich detail, a lot of world building, I definitely recommend this trilogy. Next up is another adult fantasy series, trilogy actually, but in this case, instead of vampires, this is all about witches, and this is The Book of Life by Deborah Harkness. This is the 3rd book in the All Souls trilogy. This is another one of those epic, just like the Passage trilogy. This was an epic trilogy. These books are thick. These audiobooks are long, and it's like they are if you're really into an audiobook and you love audiobook listening, these are the kind of books that you want to listen to. The narrator of this trilogy is Jennifer Ikeda, and she does a marvelous job. She really is able to pull off these characters, men, women, different accents. This is also a time travel book. So, Jennifer Ikeda has a lot going on as far as just narrating this story in a way that's believable, and she nails it. Deborah Harkness really writes a full, enriched story, just like Justin Cronin does, but in a different way. Like I mentioned, this is time travel, so you go back to like the 1800s, and then you're in present day. You're dealing with witches and vampires, and I think I can't remember what they're called right now, but there's like a third type of creature. So there's a lot going on, and these vampires aren't as scary. These are more of the romance vampires. They're not some of them are really wretched, don't get me wrong. Some of them are really have no moral compass whatsoever, but they aren't the monsters that the previous series that I just talked about are. So this is definitely a softer story, but it's just as interesting, and it really just kept my attention the whole time. The Book of Life has an average rating of 4.5 out of 5 on audible.com with over 6,700 ratings. So this is definitely a really good one that you should check out. This is another one that you should not, think it's short at all. I think all three of these books averaged about 24 hours of listening time. So, obviously I like the longer audiobooks. I like trilogies. I like series. So yeah, that's my wheelhouse. Okay, next up, I'm going to take a mini break from the trilogies and talk about a standalone title. This title is Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll. I've mentioned this title probably in another podcast. I know I've mentioned it on my YouTube channel. I really enjoyed this book. It was just stellar. The audiobook was amazing as well. And the narrator is Madeline Mabie. Now, this one is definitely a lot shorter than the previous books that I've been talking about. The audio length for this one is 4 hours and 57 minutes. And there is an average rating of 4 stars out of 5 on audible.com. This is an adult thriller. This has no fantastical elements whatsoever, and it's a real serious story. There's a lot of elements of things that are, conversation starters and things that are somewhat hard to talk about for some people. We have bullying and rape and other kind of startling things going on in this book, and it's all to kind of find out what happens when this kid brings a gun to school. What led up to that? How is our main character the luckiest girl alive? What makes her that? This was a great book club read, and I just cannot speak highly enough about it. It was just awesome, and I really recommend this one for book clubs everywhere. It's a great book club read. I haven't listened to any other books with Madeline Mabie as the narrator, but I definitely would listen to her again, and I definitely would read or listen to another book by Jessica Knoll. So that is my standalone title in the fiction genre, and I definitely recommend that one. So we're going to jump back to my favorite thing, which is series, and which is also fantasy, but this is the young adult genre. So the first 3 were adults. My next 2 are young adults. So the first one is Winter, which is the 4th book in the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer. This is young adult fantasy, and it is also a retelling. Now, this was an amazing series. So it was 4 full books and 2, in between books, or like 3.5 and 4.5. I guess they're not short stories per se, but they were the books in between the books, and they just weren't full. novels, but they were just amazing. All of them were amazing. And the narrator was Rebecca Solar. For each one, she was the narrator, and she did an amazing job. I mean, another situation where you have many different accents, men, women, old, young. There was a lot going on, and she pulled it off. Winter was also the longest of all of the audiobooks, coming in at 23 hours and 30 minutes. The others were around 11, 13, maybe 14 hours. The shorter in between books were around 6 or 9 hours. So there was a lot going on in Winter. Clearly, it was much longer than the others, as it should, because it was the finale. Now a little bit about what makes this series, a retelling. Why is Winter a retelling? Essentially, all 4 of these titles in this series tie together all of the characters. Each main heroine has her own book, but all of those characters reappear time and time again throughout each book, and we have a huge cast of characters. So we have like 4 leading ladies, 4 leading guys, a robot or android rather, and a couple of other random people, a queen and an evil, sidekick and all of that. So Winter is essentially like a retelling in a very vague way of Snow White. And this all kicked off with Cinder, which was a retelling of Cinderella in a way, but in a science fiction kind of way. And then Scarlet, which is retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. Cress, which is the retelling of Rapunzel. And like I said, these are all very fantasy and sci-fi feeling. So it's a very unique take on classic fairy tales. If you like that type of thing, I definitely recommend it. If you're unfamiliar, I say give it a try. Why not? I really enjoyed it. As far as Winter goes, on audible.com, this has an average rating of 4.7 out of 5 with almost 3,000 ratings. So it's definitely not as listened to or rated rather as other titles, but I think maybe it's just because, it's the 4th book and people just haven't gotten there yet. But it's amazing, and I definitely recommend it. So do check it out. Of course, I have to round out my fiction titles with another young adult title, but this is a dystopia title that is heavily science fiction, and it does have some fantasy aspects, but not in a traditional way. So there's no vampires, there's no werewolves, there's no witches, nothing like that at all. And this book is Morning Star by Pierce Brown. This is the 3rd book in the Red Rising trilogy. I am just astonished by how much I loved this book. Seriously, it's like it was unexpected. Back when I started this trilogy, Red Rising was making the rounds and there was a lot of chatter on the book blogs about it. So I'm like, okay, let me give this a try. And boy, I was pleasantly surprised. This trilogy was narrated by Tim Gerard Reynolds. He did a wonderful job. Wonderful. Morning Star, the latest book, the final book in the trilogy, it had a listen time of 21 hours and 50 minutes. And it's the longest of the trilogy. I think it started around 16 hours and it progressively has gotten longer until the final book. Tim did a great job with the narration. He had a lot of accents to contend with, a lot of dialects to contend with, while everyone was speaking English, but this was about a caste society based on colors. So different colors had different speak. If you're a red, you talk, a little less knowledgeable than a gold. A gold has high speak, and they speak, imperfect English with like these other tones and things like that. So he had women to deal with, young and old, men to deal with, young and old, different dialects, different everything. I mean, he did a great job bringing this together. It was stellar. Pierce Brown delivered the story, and Tim Gerard Reynolds delivered the narration, and the two together were just a perfect pair. I definitely recommend this. This is young adults again, so it is. But you know what the thing is, though, while a lot of people labeled this as young adult, I'm not sure I necessarily would. And you know, I talk about this in my YouTube videos when I review these books. So you want to check out my YouTube video if you want the details on this trilogy. But the things going on felt old. You know, betrayal and torture and love and loss and, you know, wartime strategy. All these things are going on in this book. And I mean, this whole trilogy, I'm telling you, I would listen to this again in a heartbeat. So I definitely recommend it. It's like, it's just one I'll never forget. And I definitely recommend this on audiobook. So do check it out. Again, check out my videos if you want the details. On audible.com, the Morningstar came in at 4.8 stars out of 5 with almost 9,500 ratings. And it's stellar. I mean, it's a win-win situation. Seriously, there's no way you won't like this audiobook. Well, you know, there's always a chance, but, you know, if you have taste that's anything like mine, then I think you will thoroughly enjoy it. My final book is a standalone, but not only is it a standalone, it is a nonfiction book, which I'm sure surprises you, as you know, if you listen to me a little while, watched my YouTube, or even read my blog, I'm sure you know that I'm a fiction girl. You know, I don't read a lot of nonfiction, but every once in a while, I, you know, hear a lot of buzz about something and I have to pick it up. This particular title is by none other than Shonda Rhimes. And if you watch TGIT, you know, Thursday nights, they're run by Shonda Rhimes. You know, her Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, The Catch. You know, this woman runs ABC on Thursday nights. And she wrote a memoir of such called The Year of Yes, How to Dance It Out, Stand in the Sun, and Be Your Own Person. And if you watch her television shows, you know that Dance It Out, you see that on Grey's Anatomy. Meredith used to do that with Christina Yang. When they have to, you know, get through something, they would dance it out. And Stand in the Sun is an Olivia Pope thing from Scandal. She's always saying with Jake that we want, you know, you get out of the shade and stand in the sun, you know, that whole thing. So those kind of are, I guess, you know, tie into her series. But this was an amazing story to read. I mean, someone so successful, who would think that she had to force herself to have a year of yes to get out of her comfort zone and do other things. I'm not going to give a review of that right now, but stay tuned because I'm sure our resident nonfiction expert will be in an episode really soon to talk and discuss about this book. But Shonda Rhimes narrates her own book, so I think that gave even more emphasis to I guess, you know, you could feel what the author is thinking when they wrote it. So there's no room for, you know, misunderstanding or not understanding her interpretation of, you know, everything that she wanted to say came out of her mouth. So you knew when she was being witty. You knew when she intended something to be funny. It was stellar. If you're looking for a memoir type book, it's not instructional, even though the title says How to Dance It Out, Stand in the Sun, and Be Your Own Person. It is really her own story of how she was able to do this by forcing herself into a year of yes. The listening time of this audiobook was 7 hours and 4 minutes, and the average rating on audible.com was 4.7 out of 5 with a hair over 6,100 ratings. So yeah, that was really good. If you're looking for a nonfiction memoir style, definitely check that out. So that's it from my top audiobook recommendations for 2016 thus far. I hope you found something that you are willing to check out and enjoy on audiobook. If you have your own audiobook recommendations for me, please tweet me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. I love hearing about audiobook recommendations, especially if they are fiction. You guys know I love a good audiobook. So feel free to tweet at me and give me those recommendations. I would appreciate it greatly. So before you go, please hit that follow button on Spreaker, the only place that you can listen to my live episodes, or subscribe and listen later on iTunes or the Google Music Play Store. That is it for today. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading and listening. Bye, guys.